Okay, the question is, what are your views, what are my views on setting up your hypnotherapy office in your home? I think that's a great idea. I think that's a wonderful way to go. My hypnotherapy office is in my home. And the reason it is because I used to have an office in Beverly Hills and I lived in Marina Del Rey, and I thought I was so cool. I was in the Roxbury Medical Building, you know, on top of the world. There was a bunch of plastic surgeons and me. And I thought, wow, how cool am I? I've got the right zip code, I've got the right address, I've got everything. But I had to drive down the 405 every day. And I had to face the traffic in California every day. And anyone who's ever done that knows that it's not human-like to drive down the 405 freeway every day. It's even one way. James, you've been there. The producer here, he knows. Everyone who's done it knows that it shouldn't be done by humans who want to maintain their sanity. So I then, while I was still in California, moved my practice. Now when I was in California, when I lived there, I just had an apartment. I lived in Marina Del Rey, but I had an apartment. It was a one-bedroom apartment. I moved my practice to that place as early, it was like 2002 or so. I moved, or 2004, I believe it was, when I moved. Right before I left California, I got rid of the Beverly Hills office. My patients were stressed out by the time they got there. Parking in Beverly Hills is awful. I had a nice office, but I didn't like going there. I was stressed out, they were stressed out. I moved it to my home, even though it was an apartment in Marina Del Rey, and I was right near the water. Everyone just loved it. The place I lived in was like a resort. It was so wonderful. And people loved walking through the gardens, and I'd meet them at the front and walk with them. By the time they got to the office, which was my living room, they were so relaxed. I had a lazy boy recliner, the same one I had in my office. They just thought it was the most wonderful thing in the world. I thought when I made that move that I was going to kill my business. I debated with friends for a year before I did it. They said, well, Steve, you're just not happy. You should move it to your home. And I said, yeah, I should, but I'm going to lose my clientele. No one's going to come to an apartment. No one wants to pay the money that I'm charging and go to an apartment, which at the time was I was charging $250 for the first session, $150 for follow-ups. Even at that price, I said, no one's going to want to pay that price. And an apartment, they're just going to laugh and they're going to leave. That didn't happen. I started seeing more clients than ever. In fact, one of the main contributing factors to me leaving California was wanting to get away from so many clients. I was being bombarded by clients. I moved to the other side of the country to an island in the Atlantic with a Savannah address, but still on an island, to get away from all that, start focusing on doing seminars and focusing on building an online presence and focusing on creating products that are going to help the world. I was getting stressed out and I was getting burnt out even in the apartment, but moving it to my home really lowered my stress tremendously. And if I were going to continue seeing high volume clients at a lower price, that's where I would do it. Now, people will argue otherwise. They'll say, you know, Steve, you move a practice to a home and it's just not professional. Well, I want to tell you, there are a lot of therapists, mainstream therapists in Los Angeles, who will see you in their home. They have part of their home, sometimes their house, sometimes their apartment, partitioned off, or they'll set up a little special place where they'll see you, and that's where they're going to see you. Sometimes because they want to save money, but many times because they know that an office is just not necessary. They got over their ego, they got over the myth that you're going to have more clients in an office, and they started saving money, and they started feeling better about themselves, and they started just doing a better job. Now, a single female in a home, in a house or an apartment, seeing male clients, I can see where there would be some concern. I can see where they would think, wait a minute, I need to have a separate place. But what if you set it up in such a way where the person understands that they, for example, maybe you get their permission to video record the session. You have to have permission to do that for their own protection and for yours. You're going to cut down on the likelihood of them, getting out of hand. Or what if they know that, nearby there's someone else? There are ways to build in protection if you're a single female. That's the only time I would see some reason to maybe not do this and to think of a better, a different way of doing it. You can still do it, but you'd have to think through it. If it's this person who feels vulnerable, who feels that they're going to potentially be attacked, or that someone might start stalking them or something like that. But there are ways around that. You can be in a gated community. You can, even if you're in an apartment, you can move to a gated apartment. You can work around that. But those are my thoughts about home office versus office.